NFL Week 1 is always unpredictable, but this year, it was next-level chaos. From the Ravens' head-scratching decision against the Bills, to Micah Parsons wrecking the Lions in his Packers debut, to the Jets finally looking like a team that can run the ball with authority, it was the perfect storm of shocks, mistakes, and statement wins. In this breakdown, we're digging in everything that went down, the storylines that are real, the overreactions you shouldn't buy into, and what it all means as the season takes shape. And this isn't just about this year. History tells us Week 1 always sets the tone in surprising ways. Remember last season? The Saints dropped 47 on the Panthers, the Patriots stunned the Bengals, and the 49ers opened their Super Bowl campaign by bullying the Jets on Monday night. Some of those results meant everything. Others? Total mirages. That is the challenge of Week 1, sorting out what's legit and what's just smoke. Take Sunday night for example. The Ravens had the game in their hands against Buffalo, facing a 4th and 2 with just under 90 seconds left. With Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry in their backfield to guys who had combined for nearly 240 rushing yards, they decided to punt. Instead of leaning on their strengths, they handed the ball to Josh Allen, who only needed one drive to flip the outcome. Analytics or not, that's the kind of decision that defines a season. Then there's Detroit. Lions fans came into 2025 feeling untouchable in the NFC North, but Micah Parsons had other plans. In his very first game in green and gold, he bullied the O-line, forced turnovers, and showed the Packers are not going anywhere quietly. Suddenly, the Lions' rebuilt offensive line looks shaky, their run game stalled, and Jared Goff is back in uncomfortable drop-back situations. The NFC North, wide open again. Elsewhere, the Bengals squeaked past the Browns, but only thanks to 2 missed field goals and a couple of tipped interceptions. A win is a win, but don't let the scoreboard fool you. There are cracks in that armor. And the Jets? For the first time in years, they have an identity. With Justin Fields, Breece Hall, and rookie Braelon Allen pounding the ground, they look like a team built to punish defenses. Sure, Fields still has his moments, but New York finally has a formula that works. I'd love to say that those interceptions were the product of brilliant positioning or excellent reads, but they were 2 bizarre Browns drops. Jerry Jeudy was wide open for a deep curl from Joe Flacco, but a low throw bounced off Judy's hands and into the arms of battle. And when Flacco threw another curl to Cedric Tillman with anticipation, another low pass deflected off Tillman's fingertips and into the hands of Turner, who made the sort of slick diving catch his opponents seemingly could not. Again, those plays mattered Sunday, but it's tough to count on your opponents deflecting 2 passes into your hands every weekend. And beyond the interceptions and missed field goals, the Bengals didn't do a great job of handling what projects to be one of the worst offenses in the NFL. The Browns went 11 of 19 on 3rd and 4th down, and scored 2 touchdowns in their 3 trips inside the red zone. They held the ball for 37 minutes, controlling the clock while keeping the Cincinnati offense off the field. The Bengals also handed the Browns for first downs via penalties. And while they pressured Flacco 17 times on 47 dropbacks, the Trey Hendrickson-led pass rush sacked one of the league's most immobile quarterbacks only twice. The Bengals will have better days on offense, and when they do, they will need to hold their opponents to 16 points and rely on missed kicks and tipped interceptions to sustain their leads. If the goal is to be better on defense than they were in 2024, Week 1 was a step in the right direction. I'm just not sure it was much more than a baby step. If there was ever going to be hope for the Jets on offense this season, it was going to come through their run game. Justin Fields has been a below-average passer during his time in the NFL, but he has made up significant value by running for 2,509 yards and 19 touchdowns over his 4 years with the Bears and Steelers. New offensive coordinator Tanner Engstrand came over from a Lions team that fielded what might be the polar opposite of quarterbacks in Goff, but Detroit ran the ball effectively and built a creative offense around that rushing attack. With an offensive line stuffed with first-round picks and a mobile QB added to the equation, the Jets were going to need to run to survive on offense. Even without one of those first-rounders in guard Elijah Vera Tucker, who suffered a season-ending triceps injury days before the season began, the Jets thrived Sunday, facing a Steelers defense that ranked 13th in the league in rush defense DVOA a year ago. Fields and a trio of halfbacks combined to run the ball 39 times for 189 yards and 3 touchdowns. Combining his work as a passer and runner, Fields' 79.9 total CABR was his 4th best start as a pro, and his best in any single game since the 2022 campaign. The first offensive snap of the game encapsulated why Jets fans should be excited. It is one thing to copy a run concept, and another to build in some subterfuge and manipulate the best player on the opposing defense. The Jets were going to start with the zone run to the left side, away from T.J. Watt, who is one of the league's best edge defenders at chasing down those runs from behind and making plays. Just before the snap, Engstrom brought tight end Mason Taylor in motion from out wide into the backfield, which isn't anything shocking. At the snap though, Taylor reversed course and ran back into the flat where he had come from. Fields was always handing the ball off, but to Watt, this looked like a play-action bootleg to his side. As a result, Watt stayed home, giving Breece Hall an extra moment to find his cutback lane on what ended up being an 18-yard run. The Jets got real contributions from their lesser-known players. Josh Myers, inserted into the starting lineup at center after Vera Tucker's injury, pancaked the Steelers lineman on that first run, and had a very solid game as a run blocker. Josh Reynolds, playing ahead of Allen Lazard at wide receiver, was effective blocking on the edge, and even pitching in on Braelon Allen's touchdown. John Simpson, arguably the team's best lineman in 2024, was excellent at the point of attack throughout the day. It wasn't all sleek design either. Isaiah Davis hit a 15-yard run on a counter concept where Patrick Queen tried to peek around a defender, leaving Davis room to abandon where the run was supposed to go and simply sprint upfield. Fields actually appeared to make a couple of incorrect reads on run concepts, but the Jets were athletic enough to overcome their mistakes. An excellent double team from Myers and Simpson produced a 17-yard gain on a zone run where Watt steamed down the line. Fields would probably look back and say he should have kept the football there too. He just simply outran the superstar edge rusher to the sideline for a 15-yard run early in the game on another zone read look. One mistake did come back to haunt the Jets. On a 3rd and 3, as they tried to close out the game with 4 minutes left, it looked as if Hall would have had a pretty solid shot of earning a first down on a split zone run concept. Instead, Fields kept the ball and immediately had to deal with Alex Highsmith, who was bearing straight for the QB off the edge. The play lost 2 yards, and after they punted the ball away, the Jets lost their lead. While things ended in a disappointing way, there was a lot to like about what we saw from the Jets on offense. The best version of Fields has always been some combination of the quarterback run game and a vertical passing attack built off the threat of those runs, and we saw both Sunday. He hit Garrett Wilson for a 33-yard touchdown pass on a deep crosser, designed to stress the single high coverage the Steelers employed to try to get an extra safety in the box. On the day, Fields went 13 of 17 for 182 yards, and that touchdown against single high shells. If the Jets play like this every week, they're going to be a genuine problem on offense. Let's set expectations appropriately. The big story coming out of Sunday's 34-32 win in his return to MetLife Stadium, of course, is that Rodgers torched his old team for 4 touchdown passes. That's true, but I'm not sure that's really the best measure of how he played. One of those touchdowns was a tap pass on a jet sweep to Jonnu Smith, a play Arthur Smith has been longingly drawing up in his diary over and over again after a year spent apart from his favorite tight end in 2024. Another came on a short field after the Jets fumbled away a kickoff to the Steelers. By total caber, Rodgers' 63.2 mark was 12th in Week 1, which seems a little more realistic. His receivers, led by DK Metcalf, averaged 7.8 yards after the catch per completion, the second most for any quarterback in the league behind Lamar Jackson. Rodgers took 4 sacks, and while he didn't throw an interception, a wild pass under pressure might have produced a pick 6 if Brandon Stevens hadn't fallen down as he tried to catch the football. What we did get was a quarterback who seemed entirely functional within Smith's offense. Rodgers wasn't always fond of play action and wanted to keep his eyes downfield at all times in Green Bay and New York. But on Sunday, he went 8 of 10 off play action for 71 yards and 3 touchdowns, with Smith keeping him in the shotgun for most of his dropbacks and aligning the run game accordingly. 13 of the 19 designed runs for Pittsburgh's running backs came out of the shotgun, a shift for a team that ran 2/3 of its carries from under center last season. That run game wasn't good, which might be a little concerning. I am not sure how sustainable the offense will be in terms of generating that sort of yards after catch 2, and Rodgers didn't even attempt a single throw 20 or more yards downfield, though he had a few come very close. Still, Rodgers was accurate and he didn't turn the football over, and that's usually enough for the Steelers to pull out victory.
Leaving aside a wild Ravens-Bills game on Sunday night and a spectacular performance from Derrick Henry, the best single play of Sunday afternoon was a kick. Chris Boswell's game-winning 60-yard field goal against the Jets was an absolute missile, essentially a perfect kick that made it through the center of the uprights with plenty of room to spare. It had a real shot at being good from 70 yards, and doing that in the Meadowlands isn't exactly easy. The Steelers, as is their wont, swung a game with big special teams plays. In addition to Boswell's 60-yard field goal, they forced the game's only turnover when Kenneth Gainwell stripped Xavier Gibson on a kickoff return, with Pittsburgh recovering and converting the short field into a touchdown. With the changes to the league's K-balls and another rule shift I'm about to touch on, this is feeling like a season in which special teams could mean more than usual. That's a positive for the Steelers, who perennially outperform their opponents in the third facet of the game. Sunday was sort of an odd performance for the Commanders, who controlled what would eventually be a comfortable 21-6 victory over the Giants with their defense. Darren Payne and Dorrance Armstrong led the way for a defense that pressured Russell Wilson on nearly 49% of his dropbacks. The highlight of the game came in the second quarter, when the Giants drove inside the 10-yard line and ran 7 plays without scoring. The Commanders gave them a new set of downs with an illegal hands-to-the-face penalty, but after the Giants failed to score with 7 cracks at the end zone, Brian Daboll essentially rage-quit the drive and kicked a 20-yard field goal. The Giants also failed 4 times from the 3-yard line with 3 minutes to go, long after the game had been decided. It was an uneven performance for Jaden Daniels, who missed Terry McLaurin for what could have been a long touchdown and wasn't always at his best. At the same time, the Commanders got into second and long situations over and over again throughout the day, at which point Daniels would almost immediately bail them out and march them forward. At different points Sunday, the Commanders faced second and 16, second and 19, second and 21, second and 14, second and 17 and second and 15. Daniels converted all of those series into first downs in 2 plays or less, and frankly, he didn't seem particularly stressed while doing so. The Commanders aren't going to do that every week, but they also aren't going to be backed up in second and forever as often. One way to avoid that is to lean more into their run game, which was excellent Sunday. Even leaving Daniels' impact as a scrambler aside, Washington generated 0.2 EPA per designed run, the second best rate for any offense during the afternoon slate. While Daniels made an impact and Deebo Samuel took a pull sweep 19 yards to the house for a touchdown, the most exciting runner of the day was rookie Jake Krosky-Merritt, who turned his 10 carries into 82 yards and a touchdown. Krosky-Merritt's touchdown and his 4 runs of 10-plus yards came on 5 different run concepts, which speaks to how diverse and difficult the Commanders' run game can be to stop. He was clearly comfortable working out of the pistol and shotgun run game, which wasn't always the case for Brian Robinson Jr., who was more efficient under center over his 3 years with Washington. Installed in Robinson's role as part of a timeshare with Austin Eckler, Krosky-Merritt looked entirely comfortable and capable of immediately stepping in as an above-average back. One of my reservations about the Commanders living up to last year's performance is how dominant they were on 4th downs, and how so many of their drives required at least one 4th down conversion to score points. Well, one way to solve that is to score before you get to 4th down. The Commanders didn't need to attempt converting a single 4th down on offense Sunday. They're off to a great start. That's what makes Week 1 so special. It's messy, it's dramatic, and it leaves us all guessing what's real and what's just noise. If you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more deep dives into what's trending in the US, from football chaos to the biggest stories shaping sports, Hollywood, and pop culture.